The emergency lights failed just as every exit sealed itself. A lone scream echoed through the darkness before complete silence swallowed the station. Security cameras continued recording despite losing power. Every monitor displayed the same unidentified woman walking toward different corridors at once. By sunrise the station was empty. Only wet footprints remained, all leading deeper underground instead of outside. Officials sealed the incident from public records. A private investigator received an anonymous package containing impossible surveillance photographs. Every photograph showed the same pale woman. Background clocks revealed they were taken hours apart in different locations. A retired systems engineer volunteered unexpected assistance. He claimed he had investigated identical disappearances decades earlier. Their first lead pointed toward an abandoned apartment block scheduled for demolition. The building had no registered tenants for 20 years. Every apartment door stood open except one. Fresh scratches surrounded its untouched handle. The locked room contained ordinary furniture covered in fresh dust instead of old decay. Someone had disturbed the silence only hours earlier. A hidden recorder activated without warning. A calm voice counted backward before cutting off mid-sentence. The countdown matched timestamps from every disappearance. None of the missing people had ever met each other. A maintenance map revealed forgotten tunnels beneath the city. Several passages ended beneath buildings that no longer existed. The investigators entered the first tunnel before sunrise. Fresh air flowed upward despite the passage descending deeper underground. Their radios filled with overlapping voices repeating different instructions. None of the speakers belonged to anyone on the team. A metal door appeared where the map showed solid concrete. Someone had recently unlocked it from the opposite side. Beyond the doorway lay shelves packed with abandoned case files. Every folder described events that officially never happened. One report mentioned a woman who always appeared shortly before entire groups vanished. No witness had ever learned her identity. A sudden power surge illuminated every room simultaneously. Footsteps echoed above them although the building had no upper floor. The exit corridor had disappeared behind a newly formed concrete wall. Their only remaining path led farther beneath the archive. Deep below the city they discovered an untouched steel elevator already waiting with its doors open. A handwritten note inside read, "Room 9 remembers everyone." The elevator descended without any vibration. The floor indicator displayed symbols instead of numbers, each fading before the next appeared. When the doors opened, the corridor beyond was perfectly dry despite water dripping from the elevator ceiling. Every wall carried identical metal doors. Each door bore a different year instead of a room number. None matched the current date. A faint knocking echoed behind one marked, 1974. It stopped the instant anyone reached for the handle. The investigator chose another door instead. Inside waited an untouched office filled with sealed evidence boxes. Every box contained personal belongings from people officially declared missing. None showed signs of age. A leather notebook described a hidden chamber beneath the archive. The final page ended mid-sentence with fresh ink. Someone quietly closed a distant door. The sound came from a corridor they had already searched. They rushed after the noise but found only a rolling wheelchair moving by itself across polished tiles. The chair stopped before a cracked wall. Behind it, a hidden passage slowly opened. The chamber contained hundreds of clocks, all frozen at different times. One continued ticking alone. The ticking clock suddenly stopped. A metallic voice whispered the investigators' exact arrival time. Fresh footprints appeared across the dusty floor. They formed one step at a time without anyone walking. The trail ended beneath a hanging blueprint of the city's underground network. Several tunnels had been added by hand. One newly drawn tunnel pointed toward an abandoned chapel no official map had ever recorded. As they prepared to leave, every clock restarted at once. The synchronized ticking drowned out their voices. Outside, Daylight had vanished even though only minutes seemed to have passed. Empty streets stretched in every direction. A city map displayed a chapel exactly where an empty parking lot should have been. No one remembered seeing it before. They drove toward the marked location. The road narrowed into a forest path that appeared nowhere on satellite records. Beyond the trees stood an abandoned chapel with every entrance standing open. Inside, a bell rang once although the tower had no bell. The chapel's wooden doors drifted shut behind them without a sound. Dust hanging in the air remained perfectly still. Rows of empty benches faced an altar covered with hundreds of handwritten names. None had surnames. One fresh inscription appeared while they watched. It matched the system's engineer's first name. He denied ever visiting the chapel, yet he instinctively walked toward a narrow staircase hidden behind the altar. The staircase led into a circular chamber lined with rusted filing cabinets instead of religious relics. Every drawer carried a date. Inside each drawer rested a single key wrapped with a handwritten address. None of the addresses existed on modern maps. A distant woman began humming somewhere beneath the floor. The melody stopped whenever anyone tried to locate it. The investigator discovered a faded maintenance hatch concealed beneath loose tiles. Cold air poured upward through the opening. The tunnel below contained fresh electric lights despite decades of abandonment. Someone had restored power very recently. The humming returned, now joined by slow footsteps matching their own pace from somewhere ahead. The passage opened into an enormous underground reservoir. Calm water reflected a ceiling that did not exist above them. Across the water stood the thin silver-haired woman, motionless beneath a single overhead light. She vanished when a flashlight reached her. A narrow walkway circled the reservoir toward the far side. Wet footprints appeared several steps ahead of the team. The footsteps ended before a locked steel cabinet bolted into the wall. Its paint looked untouched by time. Inside rested dozens of sealed cassette tapes labeled with ordinary names. One label matched the investigator's own. The recording contained tomorrow's conversation in flawless detail. It ended with the sound of someone running. Moments later, the exact conversation unfolded around them word for word. The final sentence was interrupted by distant footsteps. A lone figure sprinted across the opposite walkway before disappearing into darkness. No face was ever visible. The engineer quietly admitted he had once seen the same place many years earlier. He had buried the memory after everyone with him disappeared.